Furthermore, this study does suggest that FCT is an effective and often an efficient treatment for problem behavior when the treatment is matched to the results of a functional analysis. So next we're going to move on to our last article, which is Rooker et al. 2013. And Rooker et al. First discusses the different types of procedures that have been paired with functional communication training in the literature. So functional communication training is a differential reinforcement procedure in which the reinforcer provided is specific to the class of reinforcement responsible for maintaining the targeted problem behavior, and the alternative response that produces the reinforcer is a socially accepted form of communication. So just like we talked about earlier, you're teaching somebody how to ask for something nicely, and then you provide them with access to the item that they asked for. So past studies have demonstrated that FCT without extinction is largely ineffective, whereas FCT with extinction was effective in roughly half of the applications. Typically from here on out, when we talk about FCT, we're talking about FCT combined with extinction as kind of a whole procedure in and of itself. Another treatment procedure that is used often is non-contingent reinforcement. And non-contingent reinforcement is when you provide free access to preferred items as an antecedent manipulation to prevent problem behaviors from occurring. The idea is if you already have the item, then you're not going to engage in problem behaviors to gain access to that item. And so non-contingent reinforcement can also be combined with FCT procedures. And then differential reinforcement of alternative behavior is another procedure where you are putting the one behavior that you don't really want to see on extinction while also providing reinforcement for an alternative behavior that you'd like to increase. So you kind of alternate between the two. You reinforcement, extinction for the preferred behavior and then the non-preferred behavior. FCT is essentially a DRA procedure, but it can also be combined with different types of DRA procedures, such as contingent escape from a non-preferred task. Another type of treatment that FCT has been paired with in the past is schedule thinning. And this is a good schedule thinning in general is a good procedure if responses are occurring too quickly. So let's say that and so the current study sought to evaluate 58 different applications conducted across 50 states. The FCT applications were FCT with extinction, FCT with alternative reinforcement, so that could either be with a DRA, with a DRO, or with NCR. And then they looked at FCT with punishment, or FCT with both punishment and alternative reinforcement and schedule thinning in some cases. The sample was drawn from a group of individuals who did receive treatment for behavior disorders. An inclusion criterion was that they had an FA that consisted of at least 3 sessions of each conditions, treatment that involved FCT with extinction, and they had the design of the treatment analysis demonstrated experimental control. And also they were included if the IOA had been obtained for at least 25% of the sessions. Response definitions were created for self-injurious behavior, aggression, disruption, and other behaviors that included elopement, spitting, and inappropriate verbalizations. The response definitions varied across all 58 participants, but they were individualized to each participant. Trained observers recorded target responses using laptop computers, and IOA was collected for 29 to 71% of the total sessions. Overall, IOA ranged from 83% to 100%. Functional analyses were conducted, and each of the procedures were individualized and implemented with each participant. FAs were conducted using either a multi-element or a reversal design, and treatments were evaluated within a single subject design. So they were either evaluated using a reversal design or they were evaluated using a multiple baseline design. So let's go ahead and look at the graphs in this article. We'll start with the with figure 1, you can see that they compared, they looked at the reduction of problem behaviors with each of the treatments. So the slightly shaded ones are 80% reduction, and the full black bars are 90% reduction. And then on the x-axis are the different types of FCT combinations. So we have FCT with an alternative type of reinforcement. So that was the DRA, the DRO, or the NCR. And then we have FCT plus punishment, or FCT with alternating reinforcement or punishment. And then they had overall. So you can see all of the different varying levels, but it looks like the greatest reduction occurred with the FCT that included punishment. So let's move on down to figure 2. And you can see here, it's a table of each individual participant, all of the specific designs, the reduction of problem behavior, and then what was the type of combination of FCT with another procedure used. So overall, this case series analysis provided additional data on the effectiveness of FCT when used alone and in combination with other treatment components for the treatment of severe problem behavior. The study extended the current research by including a broader range of treatment components that were not routinely used in combination with FCT at the time of the study that they extended. So they looked at extending the Hagopian et al. In 1998. And they were able to include additional FCT combinations and give us further information on the implementation of FCT combined with other types of treatment. So this concludes our lecture on functional communication training. Have a great day.